Justin Lasky, business manager at Lexus of North Hills, Pittsburgh. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Hey, Justin.
Justin, welcome to the show. The first question Yuli and I ask every guest, and you're no exception, is how's biz? And as part of that, share a little bit about what you do in the world.
I'm a business manager here at Lexus in North Hills. I work for Lithium Motor Group for about 4 years. I work for the Shorkey organization here in the Pittsburgh market for a year. I'm fortunate enough to transition over here to Lexus. As we spoke earlier, business is great. We had a record December as well, both in F&I profit and total sales volume in December. So we're on the upward trajectory, and it feels great.
You heard about this new Ford 2.0 process and the iPads and, making a contiguous, consistent process from start to finish. What's your take on that? It's something that the customer, it seems, is long demanded, but we've had a difficult time delivering on in automotive.
So I'm sure that every F&I manager can agree that time kills deals. And F&I department, we actually piloted the Lexus Plus program here at our facility. We run more of a hybrid program similar to what they're doing. My sales staff are presenting a protected pencil out on the sales floor with some small manipulation that they're able to interact with the actual customer facing scenarios. But that's when we're stepping in and basically being the second hand to help these guys button everything up.
So what is that technology that Lexus is using for that? Is that the A to Z, or is that
different? Through the CRMs. We also use CDK to help present presentations to our customers, because one of the biggest sticking points is transparency and a friction point in the car deal. If for a quotes off scenario to scenario, it really does create an issue in helping customers.
So the CDK tool is it Darwin in your world as well? So that's CDK's internal tool, I think.
I have Reynolds and Reynolds, so I'm using Occupad systems here. I've used the Darwin systems in the past and presentation tools like that in the past. Regardless of which presentation tool, just getting the information out to the customer where they have to make a decision on the purchase is the biggest thing. We're ordering a lot of cars. We're setting a lot of inventory aside coming in for customers. So the biggest problem is I had 3 weeks to kind of think about this, but I didn't think about anything for my vehicle. I know I love the vehicle I'm coming to think about, but what is the financing process and what does the ancillary add-ons for this vehicle look like? And my salespeople, who are doing a great job in back-end performance, do a great job. Hey, this is what we offer. Do some research on your own, because there's research out there that supports what we do. There's no doubt.
So what you said is your salespeople, it's hybrid. Your sales folks plant the seeds, set it up. Do they ask the customer for the commitment, or is that where you come in?
To an extent. They're going to basically present the materials, get the information from the customer, find out if they want the product, if they don't want the product, why. Maybe the program doesn't fit. Maybe they keep a car for 2 years. Customizing the programs and customizing the presentation is going to be on us.
So let's dive into that a little bit. From an F&I back-end standpoint, what do you guys? How many vehicles do you sell a month, and what's your average PVR currently?
So we're up a little bit on average now. We were consistently around 120, 130. We're up into the 150 pretty consistently now.
Nice.
Last month we were both F&I managers were over $2,100 a clip, $2,200 a clip. So I mean, and the majority of that's really coming from product. We have a lot of promotional offerings here with Lexus. We are starting to see some very strong bank programs starting to really drive purchase again, which is good.
Do you sell Toyota or Lexus's F&I products, or do you have a third party?
We use primarily EFG subsidiary. We'll go through Lexus. I have Alpha warranty services for some of my high mileage vehicles that neither provider will insure, but just finding the best needs for the customer is the most important with the program guys.
So Justin, one of the biggest challenges with giving sales people so much involvement in the process, there's a couple things. Number one is pay, right? So how do you compensate well? How do you drive that behavior to plant the seeds, create the need for an intangible? And then how do you come in and get involved without losing any of that product? And that, we've talked a lot, is one of the challenges with the fully online platforms is they haven't totally solved for product pen because that need creation process just doesn't happen. So your numbers are decent. How have you maintained that focus with salespeople when they're worried about selling the car on the intangible?
The consistency is them having skin in the game. They're rewarded for how well or
they're paid on it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not that they're paid per product, but they're paid on an average overall performance, which I think it needs to be discussed and talked about. That we're successful with is we have buy-in. I mean, my sales staff are bought in, my sales managers are bought in. We all work together on a car deal, and that's the one thing I can say. It's not the salesman selling the car, then the sales manager pushing it back to me to sell the rest of it. Having that trifecta where the sales managers are involved with the actual transaction with the finance manager from all the storefronts that I've been at that are successful, that is the meat and potatoes.
So last week, Yuli and I interviewed a general manager, and we asked him the taste great, less filling question from the old beer commercials, right? And it is, who is responsible or who best impacts F&I gross in a store right now? Is it a sales manager? Is it the finance manager? Or is it the salesperson? He said one of the toughest positions to hire for today in 2026 is not a technician. It's a sales manager because they have so much responsibility. And he claims they most positively impact F&I PVR. What say you?
I, to an extent, agree. If I didn't have the support of my desk, I couldn't be where I'm at right now. I can't get out into every car deal out on the sales floor, so they're a liaison between me and the sales floor. Great finance managers will be involved with their sales floor. Not so great ones will be back in their office doing paperwork all day.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I can say, having an involved desk that actually understands, too, finance. Having finance managers or having desk managers who do not have business experience or finance experience is tough sometimes.
Yeah.
The experience they have, the better they can set up and look at a transaction for the salesperson and their customer.
So income or pay is one of the biggest metrics of how much am I impacting something. Who should be paid more, a sales manager or a finance manager, Justin?
That's a tough call. At the end of the day, both have a responsibility. At the end of it, the finance manager is going to have a lot more responsibility between the banks, the states, compliance, keeping the dealership operational, and that's where that bucks gets tossed down the road. I mean, a sales manager isn't necessarily going to have those responsibilities. They need to be rewarded. That's one of the toughest spots because once you get out of the finance office, usually that's the role they want to stick you in. But a lot of the guys in my seat don't necessarily want to move to that seat.
Right. That's a challenge in the industry, period, today. A lot of finance managers with margin compression on the front are making more than certainly sales managers. And in many cases, they compete with general managers. So how do you keep the focus on that overall leadership role and yet still generate the much needed F&I gross? That's a challenge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is consistency and leadership with that. Them seeing me here doing it. If they come back to get some help, me dropping what I'm doing, walking out on the sales floor and helping them when they need it. That's the one thing I don't really see a lot of places.
Yeah.
The willingness to be there for the guys that you want to be there for you. I want them to go out and plant some seeds and talk about F&I products and even the tangible products that we sell, like paint protection films and ceramic coating. They get rewarded for that as well. So they've been doing a great job with that. But I'm out there talking about it. I'll chase a guy out on the
that's leadership. That's the difference between managing and leading. Yeah.
Someone has to have ultimate accountability. Right. Yeah. So, all right, a few good comments online. Howard Gleason said, I think more F&I people need to sit at the desk. Sales manager will desk better for F&I when that happens. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Another comment, Lauren Klein says, F&I has more opportunity to maximize their pay. It's a pay cut often to move to the desk. And then Camiron makes a great question. When it comes to process in your world, what does that turnover look like from the sales floor to the business office?
So that's dependent, store to store, I think. In a typical F&I process, we all know what that looks like. But for a while, I was the sole F&I manager at the store. I was spending close to 100 car deals a month. So that's not what
that's a lot.
What a typical F&I process is obviously like. So that process looks a lot different than typical. That process, I have a schedule of 10 car deals in a day, and they have to be buttoned up, ready to go. I have 2-second interview with the salesperson. I'm on to the car deal. Yeah. So when you're in that type of situation, you have to have a strong sales department to have their paperwork and car deals cleaned up and ready to go. And you have to have a strong desk because if you have one thing go out of whack, I mean, you're off 2 to 3 hours in a day. And I mean, consistency of the customer service experience is the number one priority throughout all this. That's the main thing I think people lose track of.
What are the biggest gross killers in F&I today that a lot of people blame on market, but are in fact something they individually can control?
I mean, where you're making your profit. I mean, I feel like the biggest driver, especially right now in the finance offices, is you're up against rate. You're competing against small credit unions, and I mean, realistically, that's not where the money's being made in finance offices, in my opinion, right now. If you're successful in the F&I departments,
where is it?
It's transitioning into products that actually benefit the customer. We all understand the self-insurance risk in today's world. Most people coming into a Lexus store can absolutely self-insure, but close to 60% of our customers still take advantage of vehicle service contracts because they're educated consumers, and not all of them are educated when they sit down at the desk. And I mean, being at brands like Subaru and now Lexus, it's a lot different conversation than sitting at a Jeep F&I desk. So, I mean, the conversations you're having here and transition into products that actually benefit customers is the main thing in the F&I offices now.
So let's get into products. Before we do that, let's talk lenders, because you can't put the deal on the road unless you've got a lender willing to finance it. It's a crucial relationship. Who is your best lender, or top two, in your marketplace? Let's start there, and then I want to ask fraud.
Right now, we are seeing a lot of subventive programs through Lexus Financial Services, so they're a big player. First, Toyota, I mean, you guys know from your experience in our business that they do typically buy very aggressively.
No question.
Loans with Toyota, they're willing to take a risk on you more than some other banks, so we've had a lot of success with them. My second closest lender, I'd say, is probably the credit union circle here in the Western Pennsylvania area. They're phenomenal. We've done a lot of business with them. We have a great lending relationship, more than some of the bigger lenders, the national lenders.
Justin, a lot of finance managers would say, hey, I'm not a fan of credit unions because in many cases, customers have a direct relationship with them. And in a lot of cases, you can see increased chargebacks. What do you say to a finance manager that says, get out of here to the credit unions? They're gonna increase my likelihood of chargeback or trade out.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. I mean, we're setting up loans with every other bank. We have the same chargeback opportunities with those banks. And the one thing I can say, credit union customers like to do business with their credit unions. The same thing, we talk about not making a sticking point or a friction point in the car deal. If they want to finance and pay with a credit union, I have them as direct lender. Do it. If I can get a better rate, let's shoot that way. Ultimately, whoever's paying me for the car doesn't matter. I want to cover their car. That's
the hang up with that tends to be, though, that the credit union tries to capture your customer after the fact. So if they've never had an experience with the credit union, you open that door, they end up marketing to them directly and offer them a lower rate to go right through them and go around the dealership.
So that's another benefit of having such a strong lender relationship. So typically we're going to be able to get a little bit stronger approval. It's nothing crazy. But just a little bit stronger approval to incentivize that customer to come do business with us with that same credit union.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. It makes sense. So fraud is a big deal in F&I today. And we're seeing it, right? Like customers' payments are stretched. And so we're seeing more attempted fraud. We had our own Ziegler head of security, Carrie Ann Thomas, on talking about things she's doing to help prevent that, from identity fraud to income fraud to all those things. What are some of the biggest challenges you see on the fraud side? F&I ultimately in most stores is responsible for helping to protect and prevent. That's why some of the pay is there. What are you seeing as a trend, and how are you protecting against that today in 2026?
Compliance has been a continual concern in our business. And as our business continues to grow, of course, people find ways to exploit that business. We do several things here at the store to verify identity. Most customers do have to physically come sign here at the store to take these vehicles, especially with the GX models. All vehicles, regardless of how they're being purchased, need registered to the state. Taxes are collected and registered through the state. So we follow a ton of protocols to make sure that we are producing fulfilled transactions and not fraudulent transactions. It is going to be a continual issue. Like with the F&I product, Auto FI. I mean, I'm sure 90% of what's coming in is good, but that 10%, that's my biggest concern when I see something like that. How do we counteract fraud in something where you're just delivering a car to someone's house and tapping a couple of clicks? So I sign on some of these documents, but that's where a video call If we are delivering out of state, we absolutely need a video call. I need to verify ID on a screen. I need to verify who's signing for this car. If they're transporting, I need a transport company beforehand, because that's another thing we've even seen. We've seen interceptions on transports.
We have to. It's a big deal. Yeah.
Stolen in transport. So with true manifests.
Yeah. How are you protecting against that? We're seeing that as well. A hauler will show up to pick up a vehicle and it turns out to be a fraudulent deal.
Right. So anytime we have any type of vehicle leaving the facility here, I need the shipper information confirmed beforehand, who's going to be picking up the vehicle. I need a signature from the customer on the manifest. So we need everything lined up before it's even dropped.
Yeah. We've actually started taking pictures of the truck, the trailer, and and the driver. I mean, it's crazy. As these vehicles become more expensive and more valuable, we're seeing more attempts at fraud, and it really is interesting. All right, so switching to the products as we wrap up here, top 4 products in value or penetration in customer transactions in January 2026, in your experience.
Vehicle service contracts, always number one, end all be all. I don't care what brand you're at.
Okay.
Best product, and they still cover them. So I'd say tire and wheel and our tire and wheel bundle package are going to be our closest second and third. And then fourth, I'd say probably appearance protection. We're going to have, we use Expel here, paint protection film. Last month, I think we had 15 customers take advantage of Expel, and we're doing some ceramic coats as well. Same thing. Those are the only tangible products I can actually put on this car and you can leave with. And I think salespeople actually have more success with products like that.
Yeah.
Exposure and showing those products.
Yep. Is there a product you wish exists but that doesn't today? And then we'll wrap on video.
To an extent, we have a product standpoint. My signature finish is basically a 5-in-1, so I have covered, and it's a nice little upgrade for my tire and wheel program that I have here. So I mean, it's been very successful with our dealership group and us in particularly. I like bringing that program in. I don't necessarily like selling paint fab alone. A lot of F&I managers, of course, like to for certain reasons. But with that being said, I like to bring some tangible products into those bundles with these customers, so they're actually getting of the program.
Are you having much success? There's products like SPP where you're able to finance products outside the finance agreement as you're trying to help people with payments and whatnot. Are you seeing much use or need for those types of products?
I've used more SPP programs when I was working on lower dollar cars, if that makes sense. We're pushing out the subprime payments. Interest rates are a little bit high. They make a little bit more sense in those scenarios. I mean, at this store, we're dealing with primarily, I'd say 40 to 50% cash month over month.
Wow.
It's great at subprime deals with subprime lenders. I don't really have a lot of subprime coming into the store, just where we're at and what we're selling. So, I mean, it's tough to say.
So great comments online. Jeffrey Burnett says, absolutely agree. We use it informative to guarantee identity as well as dealership employee must be present or video calls. Lauren Klein says, thieves are getting smarter every year. Technology is helping them too. And Kim Iron says, we use Notary to avoid or lower the risk of fraud. Average cost is $170. What technology are you using for the video calls or video ID?
Same thing we're on right now. We have iPads at our store that all the salespeople are using, so we're already hooked up. Customers already have the information and have been contacting the customers. And to go back to one thing you were talking with JB in the videos and co-video, highly recommend using the embedded video systems. Throughout my dealerships, we always have. The main reason being, I don't care what kind of phone you have, you're able to actually view the information coming into it.
Yeah.
It's not a small little box or something you see or hear.
Are you guys going to join our competition? Are you in on the video comp?
I have to. I have some good sales.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We use bomb, so same thing. But I have some we're going to have to get the information out and shoot out some videos ourselves.
We are going to come up with the coolest trophy. I know it's in progress right now, but it's the Car Dealership Guy 2026 video competition winner. Like, that is going to be gold. Maybe we need to give it away at NADA. I didn't even think about that, but this is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. Well, Justin Lasky, business manager at Lexus of North Hills, thank you so much for joining the show today and sharing your perspective on all things finance and insurance in this January 2026 marketplace. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Justin.